But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers. Were you listening to me, or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
What are they?
Sentient programs. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent.
One thing, just if I may, right at the beginning of the reign, we have seen protesters holding up cards saying they don't want a new king, they don't want a monarchy, and a few people booing, and they have been arrested up and down the country. And I think that is outrageous. We are a democratic country. We are an open, disputatious country where we can say what's on our minds. And I don't believe for a moment that this is what the new king would have wanted. In fact, I would bet a lot of money the new king is equally alarmed and upset by the fact that protesters are being arrested.
If the law is wrong, then the citizens of the country have the right to protest against that law. If the government is wrong, then the citizens have the right to protest against that government. And this is exactly what's taking place in Russia. Hold up any cardboard sign saying you're anti-war, and you're removed from the street. No matter how old, how vulnerable you are, you're not allowed to have any say in how your country's run. In fact, it's so bad, it has an uncanny resemblance to what took place within the movie The Matrix. People, agents, willing to use violence to suppress the right of free speech. Now, to be clear, there's a nuance here. I don't agree with him protesting during the morning procession, but I do defend his right to protest. And what's interesting is his reason as to why he was at the protest and shouted at Prince Andrew.
That powerful men should be allowed to commit sexual crimes and get away with it.
And let's be really clear what's taking place. He's referring to Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew has had allegations thrown at him that he met Virginia Giuffre and he sexually assaulted her. He denied even meeting her. We now know that he has paid her off, probably with taxpayer money, somewhere in the region of 12 to 20 million pounds. And let's be even clearer, if it was your daughter, if it was your son that had been attacked by Prince Andrew, you would be in distress seeing him walking around free. Yet Epstein, Maxwell and Prince Andrew are not being investigated in the UK, despite Epstein and Maxwell being jailed in the US, and they're being investigated in France.
This is a typically English response, isn't it? Well, I think you should jolly well be quiet and sit down, but I certainly don't think the police should be carting you away if you refuse to do so.
This is another journalist, James O'Brien, radio host, discussing what he thinks about what's taking place with people being arrested for protesting. And interestingly, he gets a former police officer who seems to know all about this law.
Hello, James. Yeah, a retired police officer, so I just want to answer your questions to this. That you asked, and that's that it's a Section 5 public order offence. It's causing harassment, alarm or distress. Nothing to do with annoyance.
Harassment, harm or distress. Bear in mind that procession is going through that young kid's hometown. Do you not think it might be causing him harm and distress seeing Prince Andrew not in jail?
And that's all in your gift, is it? As a copper on duty that day, you make that call yourself? Do you not need someone to tell you that they're alarmed or distressed?
No, you make that call yourself. There's people.
So that same principle could have been used by those police officers that we saw in Russia arresting that old lady. They could have used the exact same thing, saying that her protest placards were causing distress, harassment of the government, harassment of Putin, so she needs to be taken away. The exact same thing of what that police officer just said could be implemented on that old lady in Russia for protesting against the war.
Because on the Section 5 bit first, so any police officer can cart away someone holding a sign they don't like and claim that they've done so because they believed it was causing distress despite having no evidence that it was.
Yeah.
So bear in mind, this exact same principle could be applied to this old lady.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not right, is it?
If they believe it's going to cause a public order situation, James, then it is completely right.
All of this still applies to that old lady. You could say anything could possibly happen with this old lady. People love the war so much that it's causing them distress hearing her complain about it. She could be encouraging people to come into the square, and that's causing public disorder. She could even start shouting about violence and rioting to stop the war.
I mean, it's also, as I said, for his safety.
She could be attacked by nationalists who love the idea of going to war with Ukraine, so we better protect her by arresting her. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You have now lost your freedoms. You are not allowed to protest because it's in the police interest to protect you by arresting you. That's doublespeak. That's out of 1984. That makes no sense whatsoever. These two men grab, throw to the ground, and then watch as they push the young man whilst in police custody. Yet it's the kid that's arrested. Because he's in distress, created by Andrew, not facing the courts, not facing a trial, and not being investigated by the police. No one should have the right to say when and where in a public place you should be able to protest and how. You see, I think protesting has done a lot of good things for us. And if you don't believe protesting has done good things for us, do me a favour. After this video, go to your computer and delete all your music. Go and dig up your CDs, your vinyl, smash it. Because you know what? The musicians that made a lot of that great music, that's enhanced your lives throughout your years, were protesting. Bob Dylan, the Sex Pistols, Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Bob Marley, John Lennon, U2, NWA, Tupac, Marvin Gaye, The Specials, and Rage Against the Machine. And then this picture comes up. Thich Quang Doc, a Vietnamese monk, Buddhist, who protested against religious persecution by setting himself on fire. Probably one of the most iconic pictures you'll ever see in regards to a protest. The entire purpose of this was to show that religious persecution is unacceptable. It is also important to take on board that this was to cause distress, shock and awe in order to engage with the populace to change what was taking place. Your ability to vote, protesting, for men, for women, for anyone over the age of 18 was all achieved through protesting. Your right to roam throughout the countryside was achieved through protesting. This kid shouting his abuse, I might not agree at his timing, but I would still defend his right to free speech and to protest. What did this kid do to get arrested? He didn't murder anybody, didn't rob anybody, didn't rape anybody, didn't beat anybody, didn't lose one fucking title or job, or cost the taxpayer 20 million because he was accused of sexual assault. Yet the guys that pushed him and assaulted him, nothing. The guy that won't be investigated by the police, nothing.
I mean, it could be that he got walloped because people didn't like his protesting.
Yes.
So they're hypothetically protecting you from a crime that didn't happen by arresting you. If the law is wrong, then the citizens of the country have the right to protest against that law. That includes the police, and that was set out in the Nuremberg trials. Because one of the things that the Nazis tried to do was say, I was only following orders. To which the judges said, you cannot use that as an excuse for your immoral behaviour. These rights are protected by the ECHR, and I feel this is what the real purpose of Brexit was. To erode all rights. And our monarchy is becoming less of a Disney show, and something frankly more akin to that of a Dalek.
Entirely off his own back that placard could cause distress to some as yet unspecified person, and therefore he's allowed to arrest them for possession of cardboard.
Yeah, it's not for possession of cardboard.
Well, it is.
It's because
unless you can show me the distressed person, he's been guilty of possessing cardboard.
And don't forget the other excuse. This young man has been assaulted, and they've had to arrest him for his own protection.
So, James, you want them to leave him?
Don't give me counterfactuals. Just. I mean, we're agreeing with each other. You think it's fine that a copper who I know nothing about, whose track record of being a bit, quick off the mark, might be well established. There's a piece of cardboard over there with some words on it. He decides that's potentially distressing and then arrests the person in possession of the cardboard.
Absolutely.
We're not arguing with each other. You just think that's fine. I think that's profoundly frightening.
As we can see here, people absolutely love the idea of people being arrested for saying stuff they don't like. But of course, the protesters feel exactly the same about the ceremonies taking place in regard to the monarchy.
Sorry, it's a monarchy.
And there you have it, folks. An agent. It's a monarchy. That's what we've got. We've got a monarchy. So that means it's right, because it's there. Outside Parliament, is a statue of Oliver Cromwell, the guy who got Charles I's head cut off. Why is it there? Probably to celebrate the fact that Parliament's number one and the Crown is subject to what Parliament decides. We don't have a monarchy, we have a constitutional monarchy, and it's highly limited in what it can and cannot do. And this was unreal. This is outside Westminster, and this young man, I believe, is a barrister who's being accosted by the police for having a cardboard piece of paper. Nothing is written on it. Have a listen.
Why are you not giving me details?
I'm not going to. Why would you ask for my details?
Just so I can check and make sure you can be here.
I'm in my city.
You've already said you've been arrested once.
Sorry?
You've already told me you've been arrested.
No, I haven't.
So you said that earlier.
No, I said other people have been arrested.
Okay, well, now we've made that clear. I wanted to make sure you didn't have bail conditions not to be here. So just to confirm, you're not going to give me your details.
I was holding up a blank sign. Why are you asking for my details?
You said you're going to write stuff on it that may offend people.
I said I was going to write "Not my king" on a sign, and you asked for my details.
It may offend someone.
Who's that going to offend?
I don't know. Someone may be
Not my king. Someone might be offended.
Are you going to listen or are you just going to talk over me? Is that what you're plan to do? Just talk over me continuously?
Go ahead.
No? Thank you.
This is what the anti-woke brigade hate and is being implemented by our police, and they love it. It's a form of cancel culture. We don't want you talking about the monarchy because they'll harm and upset us. So we can't talk about it. In fact, we're going to implement laws that will arrest you for talking about it. We've discovered the new reason for Brexit. It's not to give us power, it's to take power from us. This is Belarus. This is a protester in the middle of a military combat training public exercise, coming out and protesting and demanding peace. What do the police do? They come over and they arrest her. And this gentleman in Oxford had an interesting experience because he used the exact line taken from Monty Python, "I didn't vote for him."
Who does he think he is?
I'm your king.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
You don't vote for kings.
And it wasn't done during the morning. It was during a proclamation that King Charles was king. He had every right to shout that out because that is a political decision. And it's also worthy of note that the UK in a week has had no say in who their new head of state is, their prime minister, or cabinet. It has all been chosen by a group of about 80,000 people. Before you go, I've got a hilarious clip at the end, but just to say thank you very much for being part of this channel. If you'd like to support it for free, click the like or subscribe button and make sure you put in a comment of your thoughts on today's video. Thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube subscribers. You keep this channel going and growing. Enjoy this clip, it's just really weird and awkward.